Hey friends, this is Brett Blumenthal from Brett Blumenthal Studio, where I provide tips and techniques on how to paint with watercolors. If you are trying to learn how to paint with watercolors and are looking for some inspiration, feel free to subscribe to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about black watercolor paper, something you may never have thought was actually out there, but it is, and I'm going to talk briefly about how it compares to white watercolor paper in getting some interesting effects. Let's go to it. Okay, so this is the black watercolor paper that I have. It's by Legion, and it's their Stonehenge lined, and it's 100% cotton, which we always look for, as well as 300 GSM. It has this texture of almost a heavy pastel paper. That's what it feels like. And it's really, it feels like watercolor paper for the most part, but the black color really acts differently. So I wanted to just compare a couple things. The reason I bought this was because I was interested in doing some night scenes and starry skies and wanted to see how this compared to the white paper. So here I painted some galaxies. You know, this is a sombrero galaxy and this is a spiral galaxy, and this was sort of just a test. And what you'll see that is not realistic is that you don't have a night sky with this. I mean, you have the shape, but it doesn't feel like really a galaxy because you have white paper behind it. And if you were to digitize this, you also would have a tough time trying to get the translucence of what a real galaxy would look like. Instead, you would have the white paper that would shine through. So to give you a sense too, here is an attempt at creating sort of black watercolor paper. I laid down indigo, which is a very heavy blue, dark blue, and then I painted on top. I used white gouache for this because that was really the only color or only way to get that white on top of that dark color. So what I did then was I attempted it on the black watercolor paper. And you will see here that you get a really nice translucence of the black into the paint, so that there's a lot of different color, but yet also it has that dark look to it as if it's a night sky. I did use white gouache because to get that white, stark white, you really need to do that. And actually on black watercolor paper, having gouache as your paint is a really great way to go because it has a lot more opaqueness to it. And that is what I really learned was the key to black watercolor paper. You'll see here too that I used the white gouache and got really nice crisp lines compared to here. Now part of it could be my brush strokes, but I also introduced some color, and again, you get that really nice that sort of transparency that allows the black paper to come through, even though it is a heavier watercolor. And that's really what it's about, the heavier watercolor, meaning that it's not transparent. You'll see here, I did a test where I tested different colors. No. So what I wanted to do was take a small piece of this paper and show you what matters when you're going to paint on black watercolor paper. Really, in the end, and we've done this in other videos, is it matters how transparent your paint is. The more transparent the paint, the less that color is going to really show on the black paper. So I'm going to start with some more opaque, less transparent colors. This is Permanent Red Light, and you can see that it has a lot of pigment to it that does sort of show on the black paper, right? This is a very opaque color for watercolor. I'm also going to grab a little bit of my cerulean blue, which is also a bit more opaque than some other colors of watercolor. And you can see it definitely has not much of the black showing through, but it really shows up on that black paper. And I'm also going to grab, this is a yellow, it's a medium yellow, and it does have a lot of pigment and not too much transparency to it. Okay, so Now, what I wanted to show you is a little bit of wet on wet. So I'm just going to wet an area here, and you'll see how it reacts within a water or wet area. So here is my permanent red light. And I'm going to grab some of the yellow. And so again, you have that really lovely black background shining through, but it's not, I feel like it just looks more interesting than this. Now granted, this is a blue, but if you right now tried to paint into this, it really doesn't work very well. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because the layer of paint is under it, but this permanent red light just doesn't show up as rich as it does here. It kind of gets muted. All right, so now I want to demonstrate what it looks like if you use a more transparent color. So this is ultramarine blue, and you'll see it really doesn't show up. And that's because it has a high amount of transparency. It's one of the more transparent watercolor colors. So this would not be a great paint color to use on the black watercolor paper. Here is Madder Lake Deep, which is also a pretty transparent watercolor color. And again, compared to that permanent red light, it doesn't really show up because it has a lot more transparency to it. Now I'm going to dry it quick just so you can see what it looks like dried. Okay, so right now you can see that it's not 100% dry, but these are drier, and so is this over here with the ultramarine blue and the Madder Lake Deep, and these are barely showing up, while these really still are showing up. And even in the area where it's wet on wet, it's a lot more muted, okay, but you're still getting some color shining through. This would never work on wet, these transparent colors. So the big takeaway is you really want to focus on colors that are less transparent or even gouache when you use black watercolor paper. As always, thanks so much for watching, and if you like this video, go ahead and like it down below, and of course subscribe for more tips and techniques on how to paint with watercolors. I'll see you next time.